Hey, it's the Empire, Ugas Empire, Baxter Boxing. Now, man, undisputed 140 champion, had all four belts at 140, went up to 147, stopped everyone at 147 after he got the WBO title by knocking out Jeff Horn. Terance Bud Crawford, man. He's seen that Pacquiao fight, man, and man, he had some big things to say to Errol Spence Jr. after Manny Pacquiao took the L. Now, we all know, man, the history with Errol Spence and Terance Bud Crawford. They're supposed to be fighting each other, but Errol Spence Jr., he kept saying, as he kept aggregating more belts and he kept beating these top opponents, right? First, he won the IBF title. Then he destroyed Sean Porter in a competitive fight. I know, ironic. Destroyed in a competitive fight. Because it was competitive, but in the end, he dropped Sean Porter with a left hook, and that widened the gap between the two fighters, right? Now, Errol Spence Jr., it seemed, was on the verge of fighting Manny Pacquiao until Errol Spence Jr. got the eye injury. Now, that being said, man, Terance Bud Crawford, he had to be feeling great inside. He's like, man, thank God, because if Errol Spence Jr. would have fought Pacquiao and won, that would have been it. But that would have been it. So, Errol Spence Jr. gets kicked out of the fight. Yordenis Ugas takes his place. And then Ugas completely destroys Manny Pacquiao. Walks Pacquiao down, weathers his flurries, and just picks him apart like a surgeon, right? After that being said, man, after the loss, Terance Crawford seemed ecstatic. So much so he went to Twitter and made a post about it, right? Now, this is exactly what my boy Terance Bud Crawford said. He said, "Looks like Errol Spence Jr. gonna need me after, though. I know you're really mad about the fight last night, because I was. I'm not hating, just in a missed opportunity. Wait, don't beat yourself up. Get well, champ." So there you guys have it, man. Errol Spence Jr. was saying he didn't need Terance Crawford, and how he was gonna go past him and get all these titles without him and become a star without Terance Bud Crawford. And Crawford seemingly, is behind Errol Spence Jr. because, well, Errol Spence Jr. was fighting all the big dogs. He was gonna have 3 of the 4 titles or 2 of the 4 titles, but he was gonna fight Manny Pacquiao, which is a household name. That's something a belt can't buy, right? Now, at one point, the WBA was going to reinstate Pacquiao for a WBA champion, but they decided not to and keep Yordenis Ugas as the champ, and rightfully so. We've seen who was the real champ when Ugas and Manny Pacquiao fought. Ugas was. So they're rightfully so not stripping Ugas for the title because Pacquiao was so inactive, they had to take the title from him. So that being said, man, Terance Crawford seems ecstatic about Pacquiao taking the L, but at the same time, he knew that, man, if that was me or you in the ring, if that was Errol Spence Jr. or Terance Crawford in the ring, it would have been a long night for Manny Pacquiao. So that being said, man, Terance Crawford, phenomenal fighter, elite fighter, but Pacquiao, Ugas is not seen as the cream of the crop at 147. He's not. He's seen as an elite fighter for sure, and maybe he was seen as a cream of the crop. But let's be honest, the people who are going for him, they're quiet as mouses. They got a saying that says that, it's so quiet in the room you can hear a mouse piss on cotton. You can hear it. That's what Ugas fans were, man. They weren't really hype about the Ugas Pacquiao fight, right? Ugas had a 2-week notice. People were talking about how he had a torn left or right bicep. His bicep was bulging out of his arm. It looked gross, right? You can actually even look at the weigh-in. His bicep looked deformed. It was disgusting. And Ugas had little to no chance of winning just because of the low 2-week notice, and it seems as though he suffered an injury. But look what he did to Manny Pacquiao. Now, if you actually watched Yordenis Ugas versus someone like a Sean Porter, you should know that Ugas can deal with a pressure fighter, a fighter who can come forward and throw combinations. A fighter who's relentless. Ugas was able to come forward on a Sean Porter and dismantle him. It's extremely rare to see a fighter come forward on a pressure fighter and just let him do whatever he wants and then counter him. That's what Ugas was doing to Sean Porter, and he reincorporated it in the Manny Pacquiao fight at a greater degree. it was like Sean Porter 2.0 when he dismantled him, right? Yordenis Ugas fought Sean Porter. A lot of people were saying how Sean Porter lost that fight. Yordenis Ugas tore up Sean Porter's body, tore him up, and was landing shots. And at one point, Ugas dropped Sean Porter, but they called it a slip. All that being said, man, Terance Crawford, he seems ecstatic about the loss of Manny Pacquiao, and he's like, thank God Errol Spence Jr. did not get this win. Thank God it wasn't Errol Spence Jr. because a lot of people were saying, and I even think that if Manny Pacquiao, the same Pacquiao fought Ugas, showed up that night against Errol Spence Jr., it would have been a short night for Manny Pacquiao. He most likely would have got stopped. Let's just keep it a buck. He most likely would have got stopped. So that being said, it seems like they're gonna make the fight now. Terance Crawford said that, hey, you know what? Now you need me now to become a star. Now you need me. So it's true though, because Manny Pacquiao is the biggest name at welterweight, the household name at least. But so we're gonna see how this whole thing plays out with Errol Spence Jr. and Terance Crawford. But it's a shame that Ugas didn't get all the credit he deserved. He came in short notice. He beat Pacquiao, but unfortunately for boxing, being Pacquiao doesn't make you a star automatically. Look at Jeff Horn. When he beat Pacquiao, it was cool and all, but Terance Crawford knocked out Jeff Horn, and Terance Crawford is still not the level of a Pacquiao, beating him himself. You can only get so much credit for beating the guy who beat the guy instead of beating the guy himself, right? So anyway, man, let me know how you guys feel about Terance Crawford's response to Errol Spence Jr. Do you guys think that he's happy that Pacquiao lost to Ugas and not Errol Spence? I think so. And do you guys think this fight, it seems like it's going to happen right after Terance Crawford fights Sean Porter? It's a big deal, man. It's a really big deal. This is big news, and I'm really excited to hear it. Let me know how you guys feel about it, though. Like, comment, subscribe. It's the Empire. Geobasket Empire. Peace. Geobasket Empire.